So we're actually going to cover instructional media first, and then we are going to cover graphics. Do you want it to be in one video or two videos? I mean, for the recording.
I think one video is good enough. It's okay.
Okay. So do you guys already view the videos?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to actually start with instructional media and media selection. And before we go further, what is the meaning of instructional media? I believe we have discussed the instruction technology term, education and technology and education, and instructional method as well. Okay, what about instructional media? Anyone have any idea about the meaning of instructional media? Any media that we use to deliver or we use?
Can I say?
Yeah, yes, please.
Instructional media is any sort of communication or tools we use in classroom to instruct the students.
Okay, so it's actually the same field of definitions, if you will. It's any media that we use inside our classrooms to deliver our classes. So instructional means educational, obviously, and media, it's actually any platform, any communication tool that we actually use to make our communication process with our students easier. All right. So instructional media in general, it's defined as all materials and physical means that we use inside a classroom to facilitate teaching and learning, make it more engagement, make the students more comfortable, make the students, more engaged, more attractive to our class. And this includes anything that we use, all right? Whether it's hardware, software, books, presentations, tools, everything that we use to facilitate our learning inside the classroom is called instructional media, okay? When we want to define media itself, it could be defined as the technology, the hardware, the software, the tool, okay? This is the definition of media itself, all right? So the characteristics of the media could be the technology itself, or could be the combination between the technology and our skills as teachers. How much do you know about, utilizing videos, or how much do you know about utilizing, animations in your classroom? This is the definitions of media in education. Now, a common term used by teachers is called ABM, okay, which is the teaching aids, AVA, audiovisual aids, or the media. When you start your career as a teacher, you will hear this kind of term, and it actually refers to the LCD, for example, PowerPoint slides, speakers, and so on, any media that you use. Now, we do have media categories. We have three main categories of media in education. First one, we have conventional, old, big versus small. And then under these three main categories, we have different categories as well. We have the electronic versus non-electronic, printed, non-printed, projected, non-projected. And we are going to discuss about all these types in a while. Now, if you can see here from the picture, from the very, very beginning of education, when, let's say, 100 years ago, when they started education, they actually started using media from day one when they started to, educate people. They used rocks, they used, wood plates to actually write things so that they teach their students can see or can use, before even they invented paper, before they invented books and so on. They used to, use like, um, animals, whether feather and animals, let's say, like the skin, they used to like dry it and then they use it as um, like plates so that they can write on it. So media and education, it has been there from, a very, very old age. But the different now, we use lots of technology and we mix technology to make it even easier and more catchy to our students. Okay. According to Henich, there are 6 basic media for learning and instruction, which are the text, audio, visuals, uh, motion media, manipulatives, and people. When we talk about text, we actually cover everything that includes text, not only the papers, not only the books, everything, even the computer screen, a chalkboard, and so on. When we talk about audio, we actually talking about everything that includes voices, music, songs, sound effects, all these kind of things. Visuals like diagrams, posters, drawing, photographics, graphics, anything that actually use, let's say, characters or visuals in it, it's called visuals. And then we have motion media, which is obviously the video, movies, animation, video, cartoon. Manipulatives, which actually like objects that we use to educate, especially kindergarten students, first grade, second grade, things that actually make the students understand faster. And then finally, we have people which are the teachers or the experts in the field that actually design the curriculum, they design the books, and so on. Okay. Now I want somebody to tell me the difference between projected and non-projected media. Anyone would like to try? What do we mean by projected and non-projected media?
Can I try, Doctor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, projected media, I can say like the video. If a teacher use the video in his or her class to teach the students about the certain knowledge, he or she need to use a projector to display the video on the screen. And the projected media usually needs electricity, as I mentioned in the previous. If a teacher, he or she wants to use the video in order to make his or her students to understand, he or she need to use the LCD to display the video. And projected media usually is expensive because like the price of the projector is quite expensive if we get know about the price.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Scarlett. So projected and non-projected. Actually, for the projected media, it's any media that we use a projection system to present it, like the LCD, like the PowerPoint, like posters. So any media that we use projection system to present the media is called projected media. And for the non-projected media, it's like media, but it's not projected. For example, books will be by the student's hands to open it and read it. So there's no need to project it unless the teacher will project some topics of the syllabus and so on. So projected and non-projected are could be the same media as well, but when we actually use projection system, it's called projected media. Okay. And for the printed media, it refers to all kind of, hardware that actually touch in our hands, so it's like printed materials such as books, magazines, pictures, photographs, brochures, flyers, so on. For the non-printed media, it's like objects, objects that we use to simplify some concepts, some, hard materials actually to cover by only talking. For example, when we talk about cultures, when we talk about different cultures from different countries, museums, history, we need something to show the students to actually, enhance their critical thinking, how to think about, other cultures. So we need to show them something, and we actually need this kind of objects when we, as I mentioned before, when we teach children, kids, kindergarten, first and second grade, we need to show them the real objects. If we don't have the real object, then we use this kind of object as a manipulatives to actually help them understand what is this, what is, for example, a mouse, what is a mic, what is a book, what is fish, what is an elephant. Without taking them to a zoo, we could actually simplify and show them the object. Okay, there are many different types of media. We do have real objects, which is like model, diorama. We will see examples, a picture of that. And then we have printed, as I mentioned, anything that we actually print out to present, for example, books, handouts. And then we have chalkboards, whiteboard, and then we have overhead transparencies, OHP. We have slides, we have audio, video, graphics, computer, internet-based applications. And then finally, we have, but before we go to multimedia kits, do you guys know what is overhead transparencies? Okay. Overhead transparencies is actually the very, very, very old version of the LCD. It used to be actually a very big device, and it used to serve the same purpose, which is present slides, but it's not actually as flexible as the LCD, where you just connect the USB to your computer and you are good to go. You actually needed to prepare the material before you present it out. So, for example, if I want to present any topic, I need to actually prepare A4 like this one, but it's not like this kind of paper. It used to be a transparent, like kind of plastic, very thin. And then when you prepare this kind of slides, you need to make sure that you are not using so many words. So there are limits on the word that you use, what type of fonts that you use, how many lines. It used to be very, very, let's say, complicated when you prepare this kind of material. Yeah, we actually, there used to be a printer only for this transparent, let's say, papers. Okay, so you can actually print or you can write by your own hand, but you need to make sure that everything is designed, together, not very crowded, because you need to actually present maybe 6 or 7 lines maximum in one transparent. I believe we have a picture of that. We will talk about that later on. Yes, it used to be famous. You know, it used to be the common way of a presentation back in the days. And then we have something called media kits or multimedia kits. Anyone know what does that mean? What is multimedia kits? I believe all of you have gone through this one way or another. What is multimedia kits, guys?
A collection of multimedia materials used to instruct one topic, like it contains songs or videos.
Exactly. So it's a collection of multimedia to present, let's say, one book. For example, English book, semester one, you know. Oh, they used to actually have it maybe in 10 CDs, like a series. So what you needed to do, actually, you need to use one CD one by one. When you finish number one, and then the other one is going to like a continuous for the first CD. And this was actually very common during the 90s, early 20s, because it was something new for some people. Some people, they actually still using it, but I think YouTube have already damaged all this kind of business, because you can actually simply find anything in YouTube nowadays. So uh, they were like, companies working on this kind of business, where they convert uh, com- complete books into CDs, where you actually buy this kit and then you start to present it for your students. And it actually consists of so many multimedia inside. That's why it's called multimedia kits, because it has cartoon in some chapters, it has movies, it has voice lessons, and so on. Yes. And then finally, we have the manipulatives, which are actually objects that we actually use to present something, some concepts for our students. And then manipulatives could be real object models, mock-ups. The real objects are good for learners who have not had experience. It provides concrete experience. Models actually, like 3D models, uh, it's like when we use, for example, if you want to explain about Petronas Twin Towers, maybe you can bring a model of this building, and then you show to your students. This is why it's called model, 3D representative of the real object. And then we have mock-ups, which is actually simplified versions of complex devices. And we are going to see some examples of that. All right. Now, this is what we mean by model. Model is actually a representative of a real object. Now, when we talk about like medicine schools, they cannot actually use a real body unless it's dead. They use it, But I mean, this one is actually, let's say, more easier than using, real objects. And they usually use this kind of things for practice. But nowadays, they actually use 3D, let's say, simulation. They can actually run the whole operation on a real, like, it's not real, but do you guys hear the term of augmented reality? Do you know what does it mean? So yeah, if you have actually seen a series, it's called A Good Doctor. Have you seen it, anyone? Yeah, they actually, the Dr. Sean, sometimes when he want to practice, he will actually run the whole operation using augmented reality. So this is actually very, very advanced, way of using this kind of, technology and so on. And then this is what we mean by diorama, which is like, um, it will give you the idea of the real view of the things, especially when we talk about different countries or we talk about different era. When we talk about history, we can show them this kind of media. For example, this one, the pyramids in Egypt, and so on. And these are some pictures of learning boards. Okay, there are actually so many, media types in education, and you can Google it to even see more examples. Now, for the media selection, how we actually are entitled to use what media is the most appropriate media to use in our classroom. You as a teacher, how do you select the media that you use inside your classroom? Anyone? Is there like a criteria based on the content? Okay. Any other answers? Audience age, yes. Student preference, okay. What else? Price, okay. So all these answers actually are correct. There are so many criteria to make you go for the most appropriate media that you are going to use inside your classroom. Okay. It could be the object. It could be the objective. Is it going to serve the objective of the classroom? Is it going to actually be familiar with the students? Do they actually have a background of it? Is this media appropriate for this age, and so on? So this Dale's kind of experience tell us even more about media selection. Now we have three categories in this Dale's cone of experience. We have symbolic, iconic, and inactive. Let me hear from you guys. What do we mean by symbolic? What do we mean by symbolic in Dale's cone of experience? Anyone? Okay, we simply use symbols to present the idea that we have, whether it's verbal or visuals, okay? Which is the most, let's say, classic way of using media. Let's say I want to teach my students how to actually pronounce some words, okay? So what I'm gonna use is I'm going to play these words so that they can hear it. This is what we call symbolic because there are no visual, only hearing, which is verbal symbols. Same way, if I only show them how to write A and B and C, this is visual symbols. And this kind of experience is very weak, because it does not actually use more than one sense. It uses one sense only at a time. That's why it's not that, real big when it comes to experience. And then we have iconic. Iconic, it's actually using more advanced media than symbolic. Iconic, we mean still images. We mean, like show them the real objects, but only an image. Okay. There's no video. There's no, for example, movies or films and so on. And when we talk about inactive, we are giving them a lot more experience. Why? Because we are actually playing with more senses. We show them, for example, TV. We actually take them to the real location. For example, a field trip. We do demonstrations in front of them so that they can repeat after us. Okay. So from this, there's kind of, sorry, let me see this question. So we are learning iconic way now. No, now we are actually inactive because we can hear each other, we can see each other, and then we have this multimedia which connects us. Okay. So the more actually senses you engage in your students, the more they will be active in the classroom. Yes. And this is an example of, sorry, this is a different model about symbolic, iconic, and inactive samples. Here, for example, if I want to teach math, and I would actually go for numbers only, 1 + 1 = 2. But if I take objects, okay, and I said these two plus 1 = 3. This is iconic examples. And then it could be actually more and more active if I use real objects from their environment, from the student's environment, so that it could be easier for them to understand how actually math works. So the inactive is the representation of knowledge through actions. So actions means we actually playing with more than one sense at a time with the students. As our friend May said, it's like two-way of communication instead of only listening all the time. The iconic, which is the visual summarization, and then the symbolic representation, which is the use of words and other symbols to describe, only description of the experience. We not actually give them the chance to live the experience. In active, they actually live the real experience. Now we come to the cone of learning. You guys, have you seen this one before? Cone of learning. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone would like to give me an idea about it? What does it mean? How does it work? What is the concept behind it? Anyone would like to try?
Doctor, can I try?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. For me, I think reading tend to in fact lesser than doing something experience something in real life. So if students read only, they will not gain anything much more than when we actually experience in real life. So that's what I understand about this.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's correct. That's correct. Anyone else? Exactly.
So you can see that from the top, reading, hearing words, and seeing, maybe until watching. I mean, the action of watching, it's all passive, meaning you're just receiving information and then moving on uh, the cone down there. You can see it's more to active, meaning participation, meaning talking or doing an action. So it's the more action you do, meaning the more active you show, um, the more that you will like understand more, and you will retain more in the memory. So it's from passive to active.
Lovely. Lovely. That's correct. So the main concept behind the cone of learning is the more senses you use, the more the information is going to be kept in your mind. Okay. So when you, for example, see some videos, let's say they advise students how to read for exam, how to prepare for exam, you'll see the whole idea is that you, when you want to actually remember the information very well, try to read loud and then repeat and then write at the same time. By doing this, you're actually using more than one sense. So the information are going to be kept in your mind for a long term. On the other hand, while when you are preparing for the exams, you're only reading silently. No, like, you do not repeat what you read, only by your eyes. This is most probably going to be fade away, maybe after 1 or 2 days. So what you actually read, you are going only read. Yeah. So you need to use more than one sense when you read information to make sure that this kind of information are going to be kept for a long time. So 10% of what we read, we are going only to remember, let's say after 1 week, we're going to remember only 10% of what we read, or 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see. Now, if we actually combine these three together, read and then read loudly and then hear at the same time, and then you are actually seeing this information while you are reading, so you are using three senses. And then write, when you actually try to save the information, it's going to be kept for a very, very long time. Okay, this is the whole idea about this cone of learning. So we are going to remember 90% after 1 week, 90% of what we say and do at the same time. Let's say you want to teach yourself or you want to learn about languages. Okay, always remember to practice language. Think in this kind of language. Do not think on your you know mother language. Try to think about whatever ideas. Talk to yourself while you are exercising, doing whatever. Talk to yourself in that language that you want to actually learn. By doing so, and it's even better if you actually write at the same time. By doing so, you are giving yourself a very, very big experience to actually save this kind of information for a long time. Is it clear, guys? All right. Now, there are some factors when we actually want to select the media, as we mentioned before. Some of you said the money, some of you said the age of the students, okay? These are some of the criteria to take into consideration. Okay. Now we are done for our first topic. Do you guys have any question before we go to the next topic? Any questions? All clear? Okay. Now we are going to talk about the first, let's say, media, which is graphics. Now, using graphics, as I mentioned, or using media in general, it's been a very long history. It's not something new, guys. They actually used to use media from day one, you know? And graphics is one of the media that has a very long history. Now, when we talk about graphics, we actually talking about anything that is not text or a combination between a text and graphics at the same time. For example, photography, pictures, cartoons, charts, maps, diagrams, outlines, anything that is actually a combination between a text and graphics, it's called graphics. Okay, all these three are examples of graphics in education. Why it's important? Why graphics important in education? Anyone? Why it's important?
May I try that first?
Yes, please.
Graphics help our children to understand the thing. They get a clear view on the topic that we are teaching. So, plus the teacher can reach the objective of the class.
Okay, I did not hear you actually very well, but it's important why there's actually a saying that goes one picture equal 1,000 words, which actually shows us how important graphics are. You know, imagine yourself as a teacher going to a class and then trying to actually teach your students without referring to any graphics in this class. How it's going to be? It's going to be very poor because you are not actually using any media to support you, okay? Especially graphics. So if you go to classrooms, you will see a lot of graphics around you, okay? So these kind of, you know, visual elements in teaching and learning is important as the comment, you know, the content of the course. So you actually cannot go through the content without referring to media or images or visual presentation. So what graphics, how we can actually define graphics? What is graphic? Anyone? There are so many people that are not active today. I don't know why. I used to hear a lot of different names. What is graphics, guys?
In
Any
my opinion, I think graphic is a thing that visual, something visual that
any
will help us to demonstrate it in other, like it doesn't use writing, but instead it use picture.
exactly. So in a conclusion, it's actually any visual presentation or any visual representation. We represent about real objects by using any visual, let's say images, let's say characters, movies, you know. Now, what is visual literacy?
Can I try?
Yes, please.
Visual literacy is like an ability to understand the picture or the image or the graphic. Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's lovely. Anyone else? Come on, guys. Let me hear your voice.
Hello, doctor.
Yes, please go ahead. Okay.
Hello, doctor.
Yes,
Excuse me, I was trying to speak and someone else started speaking.
no problem.
For me, visual literacy is basically about literacy, like normal literacy, where we learn to read. But visual, the difference here is only to interpret the visual or graphic image we can see, like how we read and understand the visual we see.
That's lovely. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
who? Thank you. Who was the other one who wanted to answer? Go ahead.
I think it was me. So can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Visual
Now we cannot hear you.
literacy, you interrupted just now. So visual literacy is our ability to interpret picture. For an example, like when we usually use a graph when we are learning mathematics, right? So it's about how we understand the graph and stuff like that.
Exactly. So simply we can say it's actually the ability to understand the message behind this visual, behind this image. Are we able to actually take our students to this level of thinking? When I show them an image, are they actually able to understand the message behind it? Okay. I want them to have fun, enjoy the movie or enjoy the images, enjoy the field trip, but are they actually able to understand what is the message behind, this kind of experience? This is what I mean by visual literacy. All right. Now, what is the role of graphics in education? How could graphics be, helpful in education? Anyone?
Doctor, can I
Doctor,
try? Oh, sorry. Go on, Shafiq.
I think graphics can help in facilitating the learning experience. For example, we want to explain an abstract concept. So an abstract concept, like we want to explain trend, we use the line graph to explain trends. So graphic used to facilitate learning, in which they explain the abstract concept. So there are other functions as well.
Yeah, that's lovely.
you.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Can I try?
Yes, please go ahead.
Functions of graphic. Whenever we use graphic for educational purposes, it actually attracts the students' attention because we people, we tend to remember pictures way more than wordings. Like for an example, when we say apple, our brain tend to have an image of apple that's in red or green. So that's the reason why. So whatever I'm trying to say is like graphics usually attract people's attention.
Exactly. Exactly. So we are simply looking for something to, get out of the boring, classic way of education. We are looking for something attractive, catchy. We want them to be with us the whole time. attract their attention, you know, engage them, make them, you know, having fun while we are actually educating them. Okay, so this is are the functions of education. Provide concrete information, present direct attention, motivate, repeat information, reduce learning effort, and so on. There's so many actually roles of, you know, graphics in education. Now, however, there are guides on using graphics because we do not want to actually the students to misunderstand some concepts. You know, there are many teachers out there, they actually overuse graphics. And this is because they just want to make it easy for them, not for the students. You'll see a lot of teachers, they will actually run a whole movie in front of the students for the whole class, and they will just rest. Using that, it could be good, you know, from time to time, but it's not actually healthy for the students for the whole time. And it's not healthy to see the whole movie because you need to actually be very, very selective when you actually present media or present movies in front of young students, you know. Some of the information that they going to get is very, very dangerous sometimes, you know, especially during young ages, while students are actually looking for something to imitate. They need something to, or somebody to be a role model for them, and then they just repeat whatever they see. For example, you know, superheroes and so on. I've heard the story actually from one student who actually jumped from a window trying to be a Superman or a Spider-Man or whatever. So this kind of media that we actually give the students could be very, very dangerous. So it's actually your responsibility as a teacher to pick the right media to show them. Okay, guys? Now, oh yeah, this is correct. Exactly. So actually, using movies inside the classroom is way, way too dangerous that more than actually we think, because there are so many concrete information in these movies that they are going to actually drink out, and they actually going to imitate after that. Yeah, even some animation and cartoon movies have some bad ideas behind, you know, hidden messages, if we will. So that's why you need to be very picky when you select the media for your students. Okay, guys. Now we going to explain about the types of graphics that we have in education. We have so many types, but we are going to go through the, let's say, the most common types. Okay. Now, first we have something called line drawing. I believe all of us have seen this in our, you know, books, which is actually going through the real object only by using lines. Simple presentation of forms or objects by means of lines and curves. And then we have something called illustrated drawing, which is like a drawing, but in more details about the parts, about the content, the components of the object. And then we have this croquis, which is simple drawing, uses simple directions. It's like a map, you know, especially when you are studying engineering, architecture, something like that. And then we have sequenced drawing, which the main purpose of it is to show, a step-by-step process or procedure. If you add this to that, it's going to, you are going to get a new component, or this is actually used for, let's say, chemistry and so on. And then we have comparative drawing, which is to actually compare between two objects. This is the lung for normal person, and this is the lung for a smoker. You're going to compare between these two. And then we have cartoon, which is very famous, simple comic drawing like Tom and Jerry. Then we have caricature, which is like, simple lined, humorous, or like, cartoon characteristics. Okay. And then we have maps to actually show us locations, directions, and so on. And then we have posters, which is a graphic advertisement, aims to post specific message, and so on. We have charts, flow charts, hierarchical diagrams, and these actually are very common nowadays when we talk about infographics. The charts, we use it in the presentations, we use it as design and so on. Flow charts, just like the one that we have explained in algorithms. And then we have the diagrams, which actually a way to organize or categorize data or people or so on. We have geometric figures, screenshots, photographs. Okay, we have actually so many types of infographics. Now, what are the main types of graphics? Among these examples that we have discussed, we have categories of graphics. We have the 2D dimensional graphic, and then we have the 3D dimensional graphic. Anyone knows the difference between these two?
Doctor, I would like to go first.
Yes, please.
2D is like picture-wise on a piece of paper or on a board or something. 3D is like a model. You have like a fake model on top. Yeah, it's like that. And it could be like real objects as well.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. 2D, guys, is more like, a flat picture. You cannot see any dimensional, views in the picture. For example, Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry is actually a 2D animation. While 3D animation, you can feel the real views of the object. For example, the movie Frozen. This one is called 3D animation because it's not simply drawing the objects using the computers like Tom and Jerry. In Tom and Jerry, they actually draw the character in a piece of paper, and then they scan it in the computers, they draw it again, and then they color it. Okay, this is how it works for the 2D animation. While for the 3D dimensional animation, they use modeling. They model the character. You can see all sides. You can see the face, you can see the side, you can see the back. So it's like modeling. This is what I mean by 3D. Yeah, spaces, views, all the angles. Now this is a 2D character or 2D animation. As I mentioned, we actually draw it on a piece of paper, we scan it, we draw it again using, for example, Adobe Animate, and then we color it, and then we try to animate the character. This is a 2D graphics, all these kind of. Now for the 3D graphics, you can feel the depth, of the objects. You can see there are so many angles, you can see the views. All right, now for the categories of graphics, we have the realistics, which is the real objects, analogical, which convey the concept by showing something else, which is used for some equations, mathematics, physics, and so on, or organizational, where it shows the how some concepts are organized, the let's say the flow of it. And then we have relational. It shows relationship between two or more variables. And then we have transformational, which is actually to show how, movement or a change among the time or space. And then finally, we have interpretive, to actually explain about something, just like the cone of learning that we already explained. We have discussed. This is to illustrate abstract information or theoretical information. So how to use graphics? We need to make sure first thing first is we are actually delivering the objective. We are actually able to deliver the hidden message behind it. You do not simply go Google whatever media and then just use it. This is not the right thing to do. As I mentioned, there are so many hidden messages in movies, cartoon, animations, and so on. So you need to make sure that using this kind of certain media is going to deliver your meaning or your objectives. Visual complement the text information and help to retention of that information. Visual skills are particularly important in many problem-solving situations. Okay, for the guides on using graphics, we need to make sure it is actually providing better explanation. We need to make sure the quality is high so that the students can actually see. All right. Very simple to understand. We make sure to avoid any complicated or complex images. Besides, use large pictures, especially when you are using LCD, to make it clear for the students. Decide on which elements to include in your visual. Always avoid any non-necessary information. Psychological sense of equilibrium or balance. Equilibrium, we mean balance. Increase contrast, size, type, font. Simply use the best way of presentation to make it easy for the students to understand and see. Okay. These are some examples of the principles of graphics. Let's say you want to design your presentation, the slide presentation. Number one is avoid using too many objects in your slides. Try to make balance in the slide. Okay. Try to use two, let's say, whether cold or hot colors. Avoid using both of them together. Okay. Do not use so many, colors. Do not use so many. Some students use even, sound effects in the presentation as well. Okay, so one more time, for the design, you need to consider the arrangement the balance, the color, legibility, which is the size, font, contrast, and appeal, capture and hold attention, age of audience, interaction. You need to make sure that it is actually appropriate for the age of audience. These are some example of the balance that we mean here: formal balance, informal balance, imbalance. There are three types of balance that we are going to discuss. For the formal balance, which is actually 100% the same, it's like a duplicate. Formal balance occurs when equal, very, very similar elements. It's like a duplicate of the objects. This is the meaning of formal balance. Informal balance or symmetry involves a balance of unlike objects. Although it seems like less planned and more accidental, it's not. It's like more complex. So it actually show a balance in the picture. And then balance by color or shape. You can actually see these two examples of how to balance a graphic using a shape, the same shape and the same color. It's not actually the same color, but the same, let's say, area of the color. We are not using, let's say, if you go for cold colors only, you make sure that you do not use one hot color inside of the graphics. And this is these some examples of the contrast, how to make sure the contrast is actually attractive. This is an example using red background while using a green text. This is not very good. This is actually very hard to see. And these some of the colors as well. Green on red is very hard to read, and so is red on blue. So always make sure to use the contrast images, I mean colors. So black on white is very easy to read, as is yellow on blue. So avoid using these kind of colors, green and red, red, blue, red, or maybe sometimes they use the same colors but different, different grade. And this is very easy, very hard to read as well. Some examples of the colors, like good combination between colors, white and blue, black and blue as well. Sorry, black and white, blue and gray, light yellow background, and dark text, and so on. So as a conclusion, using visual, using media, images is very, very helpful in education, but we need to make sure that it's actually the appropriate kind of media that we use, so that we do not mislead our students or create misunderstanding among them. We need to have actually the skills to be able to present this kind of media for our students. We make sure that we are not actually using graphics or any media, movies, animation, just to waste our times or students' times. Okay, you are tired today, you don't want to actually give anything, so that you give them a movie, and you do not actually know the content of the movie. They might actually see something very bad and go back to their houses, try to do the same, and you are actually responsible for whatever they have saw. Okay, guys, do you guys have any questions?
Hello, doctor.
Yes.
I have a question about how to differentiate text and graphics because uh, most of the time some company uses their logo with only text. For example, KFC, it's just text, but the text is used to represent some things and it plays the same role such a graphic. So is it considered text or graphic? Thank you, doctor.
Okay, thank you. Now, the text and graphic, the difference between them are obvious, but sometimes when we use only the text, especially for logo, it's not text anymore. For example, KFC, it's a trademark. When we are talking about trademark, we are talking about something very, very famous, you know? So it's not text anymore. When you actually read the word UTM, UTM is not text anymore. It's like a trademark for a logo for a very big educational organization, Google as well. So when you mean like the literal meaning of it, it's actually consists of text, which is letters, KFC. But the concept behind it is way, way more than that, you know? It's like a very big industry business. So when this kind of text goes to this kind of meaning, which is the logo behind it, the trademark, it's not text anymore. You know, it's the logo, the meaning of the logo. For example, you know, Adidas or Nike. It's not text anymore. This is a very big trademark, a huge industry, you know? Did I answer your question? Okay, guys, do you have any questions? Any more questions?
You, doctor, for now.
Okay. Okay, guys, next week is going to be the semester break. Is it?
Yes.
Okay, and that is going to be uh next week is going to be 5 until 12. Is it, guys? From 5 until 12 December. Is it?
Yes, doctor. For a week.
Okay, so 12 December, do we have a class? Guys,
I think yes, doctor.
okay, what I want to say is that the week after semester break, we will have our first test. Okay, and the test is going to be I mean maybe 10 to 20 multiple choice questions, and we are going to use e-learning platform.
Is it on 19th of December, doctor? Or 12th December?
Do we have a class at 12 or okay, let me see.
Supposedly to have on 12th because we start our mid-semester break
on 3rd of December until 11th of December. So far that I know.
Okay. So 12 is it? 12 December, Sunday, will be the test. All right, guys? 12 December.
Okay, okay.
And after the test, I will share with you your carry marks. Okay, guys? That's all for today. Thank you very much.
Doctor,
Yep.
the test would be same time as our class.
Yeah, same time.
E-learning, you mean through Google Form or?
No, e-learning. E-learning.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Doctor, I want to ask, do we have a time limit for our test?
I mean, maybe 1 hour is enough, not the whole time.
All right, Doctor, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Doctor, another question. Do we have to join the WebEx during the test time?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Any more questions, guys?
The topic from 1 until 7.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
First 7 topics. Any more question?
It's all clear for now, Doctor.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Doctor,
Mm-mm.
Shafiq asked, can we have some samples of questions and answers? Do you have some samples?
I'm actually not allowed to share. I'm not allowed, but it's all from the presentations. So you can just maybe watch the videos from 1 to 7, and that's all. There's nothing, come from outside of the content.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, welcome. Any more questions, guys? Okay. Thank you very much for attending this very long class.
Doctor, sorry.
Yeah,
The questions, is it in like paragraph form or just normal sentences?
only multiple choice.
Okay, Doctor.
Multiple choice. Okay, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll see you. Yeah, and have a happy semester break. We'll see you after that. Please take care, and see you then. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Doctor.
Doctor.
Thank you,
Have
Doctor.
a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too.